I felt fortunate that I have a staff and a program here that's able to attract, some pretty upstanding young people. Because what those kids went through this year was really, really hard. And I thought what was on display most of the season, certainly in the last week, was just an unbelievable amount of pride and high character and care for the program. It's what you want as a coach. Obviously, you want to win, but you want to see young men be able to have a bigger vision of what life's really about, and that's handling adversity and coming together, competing the right way. So I'm certainly very thankful for Bryce Williams and Isaac Likely for everything they did for us, for me personally, and obviously to all those other guys for being right there with them and with us and allowing us to, salvage somewhat of a successful season. I mean, I would imagine if the circumstances weren't what they were, the conversation would be about, maybe some missed opportunities in league play, but not that the season's over, like what's next. And unfortunately for these guys, and I feel terrible about it, because this should not be the end for them. They should have another opportunity to go and, continue to compete. So that's disappointing, but I'm certainly thankful and proud as a coach today to see how our team competed.
We saw, of course, how everybody reacted in the locker or on the court afterwards, but what was the scene like in the locker room among the members of the team?
It took me a minute to get in there. The kids were obviously really excited. I got more emotional than I thought I would, in all honesty. But as I started to reflect on watching the way those kids competed, it really just burned me to my core that they don't get another opportunity to go and finish this thing the way most everybody else has an opportunity to finish it. So I probably dampened that mood of excitement, but I wanted them to know how much I appreciated them, how much I cared for what they did for us this year.
What do you tell a team that won its final game, but that's just kind of it?
Oh no, I'll put it in the book one day. Congratulations, I guess. I mean, I guess the team that wins the NCAA tournament will win 6 games in a row, and if the NIT happens, that team will win 5 in a row. I guess we'll have the third longest win streak in the country going into next season.
Mike, when you talk to your players and everything, you mentioned the pride. How much did you see that just kind of swell the last month, few weeks?
I'll be honest, it's been there most all the season. This season just always had an air of discomfort around it. I mean, just, it was kind of the elephant in the room. But we didn't always perform well. But I could count on one hand, not one hand, fully, how many times they didn't show up and really lay it on the line. I think Tech was buzzing when we went to Lubbock. I mean, that was a pretty big-time environment. They jumped on us early, and we didn't respond that day. Then we had a similar experience in Lawrence. Other than that, I mean, there were times we didn't perform. We didn't play well here against Xavier. But it's a 6-point game with 2.5 minutes to go. I mean, we're right there. We have opportunities to win. So I don't want to dismiss all those things because they happened in December, right? But to see them continue to do it is really what's impressive. Because once you realize, all right, you're not going undefeated, right? So that story's gone. And then, you get in the league play and you're not going to win the league. In the last month, that was pretty well assured. To see them continue to do it is what's really impressive. Because at that point, and we probably had a little bit of it. We went to Florida, and the second half of that game was really disappointing to me because of the way we played. And I told you guys that. But those kids allowed us to coach them in that moment, too. And they responded the right way. And since then, other than the trip to Lawrence, have really gave us everything they have. Certainly could easily have beaten Baylor here. We were in position to win last Saturday in Norman. So there were opportunities to have a better record. But I don't know if being 17-13 would have made me feel that much different because they competed really hard the whole time.
With how they competed, does that make you feel better going into next year that you've got, I don't know who's going to say who's going to go, things like that, but you've got guys who aren't going to quit over things like that?
It makes me, right now, it makes me feel bad for these kids, to be honest. I mean, that's just how I feel. I feel terrible for Isaac Blakely. I mean, I really do. He came in, and he's the only remaining person of his original recruitment. It's well documented, right? And we're here with some knuckleheads, some guys who may have not responded the way this team did when we had to dismiss a couple of guys he was recruited with, right? And he was a guy who figured out a way to continue to do things the right way. Gets sick, deals with the pandemic, changes positions, gets moved around all over the place, and never bats an eye at any of it. He deserves better, and I don't want to get myself in trouble, so I'm not going to call names, but everybody knows the deal. This is about the kids. This college basketball, college experience is supposed to be about giving them an opportunity to become the best version of themselves and then be rewarded for that. He did his part, and some adults did not.
Coach, kind of going back to the game, they went on a 7-0 run. You guys were down 10. You called timeout. What was the message at that point? Was it more game related, or was it just you guys, it's like your last chance to kind of make a statement?
I mean, it really wasn't. I mean, obviously, the entire week was a level of desperation that this is it. I mean, the book's closing one way or the other, right? Doesn't matter. We can win, and we're not playing next week when it's over. And so it was a reminder of that, but it was also we were doing some just silly things. So there was a lot more basketball than just raw emotion. We had to take better care of the ball. We had to get better in position to close out on no banner. We had to do a better job of defending against Bryce Williams. So it was a lot of basketball stuff, and I thought our guys responded well and defended really well late in the game.
Can you speak to the last 19 seconds where you were able to not allow them to shoot a shot, and I guess what were you all able to do there?
Well, one of the things that we benefited from was not having foul. I guess we weren't playing great defense early in the first half. They were scoring a bunch, but we didn't have a whole lot of fouls. So we kind of was able to milk the clock a few seconds at a time and foul a couple of times. And then we got a couple of deflections, which burned some time and had them. They took the ball out in 3 different parts of the floor, which then they were subbing and trying to figure out which guys. And I think our guys were just locked in on being assignment sound. We didn't have any breakdowns. I think 3 different guys got deflections in that time frame, and that's really what we've been about all year. So it's fitting that we ended the season the way we were designed to be able to play, is to be able to stop people from getting easy baskets. And then when they shrunk the floor on them, it really made it probably more advantageous to us because we could use our length at the rim at that point.
Last one for me. In terms of Bryce, just the 3-point go-ahead shot, I guess what allowed that to work for you all? Because before that, it was like baskets were kind of going in and out, or just seemed like you all couldn't figure a way to get the ball in the basket, and same with Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I call it real confidence. He had not shot the ball well. He was actually a little hesitant. And, you never know when you design a play. You haven't been right. But I tell people all the time, when I draw up a play, we always score. When I draw it up, like, it's a made basket. It doesn't always work out that way, clearly, because the guy's got to go out and execute it. And then, it's 50-50 every time it goes in the air. But that kid worked so hard that I never doubt that he'll believe he's gonna make it. And so I just whispered to him, if you watch it, I walked past him, and I didn't know the ball was coming to him. But I said, if it comes to you, don't hesitate. And he certainly, he doesn't need that reminder, but I didn't want him to second guess late in the game. And so I felt if he got a good look, we, take a shot at it. One thing I did tell him kind of end of the year, guys, if we're going to go down, missing a bunch of shots. Just shoot it. Like, if you're open, shoot the ball. We don't get to come back tomorrow and figure out what happens, So that was a message kind of to all the kids.
What has changed over the last month or so for Musa on the glass? Has it just been more aggressive? Has it positioning been better? What's kind of
I mean, it's kind of a subtle thing, but I think Tyreek Smith being in there helps. When we're playing smaller, when we play for true guards, what combination of Bryce Williams, Bryce Thompson, Avery Rondell, guys who aren't naturally great rebounders, especially offensively, then he really gets all the attention on the glass from the other team. And so when you put another guy who's as aggressive or capable, and maybe you playing with ice, which we have started the last several games, then you got some real physicality in there. And then you got to pay attention to Reek. You have to pay attention to ice, and it makes Musa in more one-on-one situations. And so if you get around the rim, I mean, he's going to have an advantage, and he's just been really focused on it. He's rebounded the ball exceptionally well the last month, and obviously he made 2 big free throws. But I thought the play of the game, quite honestly, was when he challenged the 3, he fell down and then blocked the shot in the same possession. And that was huge. It speaks to his effort and his care for trying to help his team win however he can.
The portal and otherwise, he'll do some recruiting this offseason, I'm sure. Is there anything more important than recruiting Musa back to this group?
There's nothing more important than figure out what our roster is going to look like internally first. Musa's obviously a big part of that. But I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, this stuff's crazy right now. I mean, I know for a fact that there are multiple guys on our team being recruited by other universities. It's disgusting, quite honestly. I think I told you guys this yesterday. But it's the kind of the way the game is played now. And so we've got, my job is to make sure I'm in touch with these kids. I'm sure people will be telling them that it's unfortunate they're sitting home and their teams are playing, but I'm glad this part of it's behind us so that can be used against us moving forward.
How do you handle that? Because you don't want to blow up your own guy's spot, I would imagine. How do you kind of handle that emotionally with them if they are getting recruited? How do you handle that whole thing in general?
Everything for me has always been about relationships. And obviously part of the reason I know is because our kids are comfortable talking to me about what's going on. And so we just got to make sure that they're making informed decisions. I'm not here to force anybody to stay here at Oklahoma State. This is a place that you need to want to be. It's pretty cool to have, I don't know what we listed the attendance at, but our fans were phenomenal this year. And I would imagine that there are a lot of teams that if they were told on November 1st that the team wasn't going to the tournament, would not have had the attendance that we had this year. Wasn't sold out every night by any means, but our kids showed up, partly because our fans showed up every night and gave them great energy. And so this is a place you should want to be. It's a great college town. You get a great education. You have tremendous support. Coaches getting better, I think. And it's a place you can grow and be yourself at. So the message is, I want them all here. But I want them to want to be here too. And if they don't, if they think there's something better out there for them, by all means, I want them to go try that as well. But when we start back up in a couple of weeks, preparing for next season, the guys that are returning need to know it's going to be hard work, and we're not going to be, hoping that they stay. They're going to be all in, or they're going to be exploring something different.
Coach, going back to the rebounds, 16 offensive. How important were that for this game?
Yeah, we're huge. I mean, against a team who's going to make it hard for you to get great shots, you got to try to manufacture some offense in other ways. Getting out transition is one of those. Getting to the free throw line is another one, and obviously getting on the offensive glass is another example. So I thought that gave us a chance. It kept them out of transition. They didn't run as much, I think, because they were worried about our aggressiveness on the glass. And so, it's a tactical game, obviously, and, each coach makes some adjustments. We played more zone today than we did the last time we played them, and I'm glad our team gave them up to win.
Mike, your conflicting emotions, the conflicting emotions today with their celebration on the court and their obvious joy over what they did today versus you being reminded about what they're not going to have coming up and you being burned to the core is how you put it. Does that symbolize how difficult this situation has been?
Yeah, I mean, this has been the most difficult year professionally of my life. There's so much psychological work that had to be done this year to keep the kids engaged. And not that they didn't want to be engaged, but there were a lot of people telling them that they didn't have to be engaged. And maybe they shouldn't have been engaged with our team, that they should be engaged with themselves. They should be worried about their numbers. They should be worried about their draft stock. They should be worried about going somewhere else, or that we screwed them by not telling them. Pat Forty wrote an article basically saying if any kids didn't know at Oklahoma State that they were going to have a ban, shame on the staff for being dishonest. That wasn't true. We were totally honest about this the whole time. But that message gets out there, and people believe what they want to believe in those situations. So, yeah, there was a lot to juggle this year, and not having the ultimate carrot as a coach. And I said this before, we were 12-19 going into the conference tournament that year. We dismissed all those kids. But there was hope when we got to Kansas City. Very small hope, right? But it was new life. You went, like, you kind of control. If you lose, you're out. That's not the case for these kids, and that's really, really unfortunate.
Talked yesterday, Mike, about life would be a lot easier if you do it in reverse. But from where you sat right there on November 3rd, I think it was that very seat. What did you learn about this job over the last 4 months?
The profession of coaching or this place here?
Coaching.
Yeah. I learned that it's a lot more than I ever imagined. And obviously, he hadn't been around as long as maybe Marshall has. Certainly Zach, even Jacob's a little new, but I think Hallie's been around for a while too. But it's been a lot in 5 years. I think maybe $2. I got enough for $2 now. What do you think? Think I got enough for $2?
You want me to help you write it?
I mean, seriously. But I tell you, I'm a man of faith. I believe most things happen because they're supposed to happen. We don't necessarily know why at the time, but what I told those kids is at some point in their life, they'll reflect on this and it'll be something that they can take a positive from, that they can use moving forward. And so I guess what I learned about coaches is not very different than life itself. Is you learn as you go. You bump your head sometimes. Sometimes things go against you in ways that you just doesn't make any sense. And really how you respond to things is maybe more important than what actually happens.
As it relates to this current job here at Oklahoma State, how does this season influence kind of the overall vision of the project going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was a setback in terms of, I said all along last year that I thought we were right where we should have been 4 years in. You build this thing, you get a really good player, you get a couple really good recruiting classes, and you put yourself in position to be a consistent NCAA tournament team. And, make a run to second round, maybe you get to the Sweet 16, maybe you lose in the first, I don't know, but certainly not being able to do that outside, now you look at, as a coach, right? Some people could say, hey, he's had 2 really poor seasons in 5 years, and has only been to the tournament once. There are people out there who, I'm aware that think I'm not doing a very good job. It's okay. I don't necessarily pay a whole lot of attention to it because I know what we do here. So there was certainly a step back from a perception standpoint, right? Recruits don't want to see teams that don't play in the postseason. It's not good. And maybe that's why the penalty is what it is. So that it is that, what do you call it? I can't think of the word right now. But I think because of what we did, the way we showed ourselves throughout the year, it's going to give us a chance to kind of talk about this is behind us. This won't be a part of your experience moving forward, and it'll give us a chance to continue to recruit good players and build the program the right way.
With the band, that's pretty an obvious sanction. You're not going to go with the scholarships and the recruiting stuff. Are you just standing next to a compliance guy for the rest of the sanctions? How do you?
Yeah, I like to get away from the compliance guy, to be honest. Not because I want to cheat, just because I'm tired of being told what I can't do within the rules. Like, why can't I use 13 scholarships? That's what everybody gets to do. So yeah, we just gotta stay in communication with the people who, know that area better than I do and make sound decisions that are right for the program, and obviously, we'll have some days we can't go out recruiting. There'll be some young person out there, 3 of them probably over the next couple of years, that won't be able to go to college on scholarship. That's another unfortunate reality of this. Our 13th scholarship player probably doesn't play that much, but it's one less kid out there that's on college basketball scholarship. I don't know who that's good for. The NCAA tournament ban, I can see how that could be punitive, but taking away scholarships from kids, they're not taking away from us. Taking away from a kid somewhere.
Coach, this isn't about the game, but just a different project I'm working on. Looking ahead to next Saturday, that would have been Eddie Sutton's 86th birthday. And so, when you think about Eddie and kind of legacy he left behind, what's maybe one word that you could describe Eddie Sutton?
I think he was a man. He obviously was a tremendous leader. The first thing that comes to my mind isn't the 806 wins on Hall of Fame. It's whatever date it was after January 27, 2001 that he had to well, that time frame there, right? That's when you find out about somebody. And everything I've heard, because obviously I wasn't here, from the people I've talked to, is he was what you needed. He was a leader and a man in that moment when people needed a leader and a man. So that's why I'm so appreciative that I get to go out there on that court, because I know what it represents.
What does the next few days, couple weeks look like for this team? I know you mentioned the psychological work, but what does it kind of look like at this point, now that the season is done?
It's over. There's nothing else. That's it. You know, NCAA rules say we have to take 7 days off from our final game, so we won't be able to do anything tomorrow. Then there's spring break. As a team, out of season officially. We can't practice out of season, so we're off. We'll be off for 2 weeks. That'll give me time to figure out a way to attack the off season.
So you can't meet with players? You can't have like meetings with them, or?
I don't think so. I mean, they can come meet with me if they want, but I don't think I can require them to do anything.
You don't watch a tournament?
I mean, I love basketball. I probably will. I don't know if I'll be as engaged as I normally am, but I probably will at the end. I mean, I love the game. I really do. And I respect, I'm not mad at the other teams, right? I want to see good basketball. Baseball's not starting for a while, I guess. So I'll probably watch it.
Anything else for Coach?
I just thank all you guys. Obviously, been an up and down year. I hope I wasn't too ornery at times during the year, but I appreciate all your coverage, all your honest coverage, all your probing questions. This helps me get better too, so I appreciate all you guys and what you do. All right, have a great off-season, summer.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.